Edward here from erviewer.com. I have another video for you. Again, I'm continuing to explore my own threshold barrier. I'm calling it now the threshold barrier. I'm just combining the two to simplify it. It's a barrier that between our conscious everyday thinking, words and concepts and reality perspective, and below or beyond that threshold barrier is where we have access to, as Ingo Swann terms it, the second reality or greater aspects of reality. I tend to think of it as the other 99% of our own being that exists in our state of knowing, has access to all points in time and space, and is experiencing that continually. I am interested in that greater aspect of ourselves. I'm interested in the threshold barrier. I'm interested in what is it made of, what is its mechanism. I'm under the understanding that it is a combination of things. It's a mental construct. It is also combined with emotional construct and other constructs that I'm not aware of at this time. But between those two that I can identify as emotional and mental constructs, safety barriers built, possibly built on, or more than likely, in my opinion, built on fear, as a form of some form of self-protection mechanism, that shielding ourselves or sheltering ourselves from greater aspects of reality, quite possibly devised as mankind began to come together or quote-unquote civilize ourselves. We probably needed to shield ourselves from the destructive nature of our own human nature. Quite possibly that is another aspect of our own development of this threshold barrier to protect ourselves from our own nature and our own actions. Quite possibly that may be why it's so strong, that we would want to shield ourselves from that, quite possibly. But I'm interested in what we are, who we are without it. I'm interested in how these inputs, as Ingo Swann terms of these inputs, illuminate these barriers, these mental processes, these emotional sensations. In this experience, I did get the sensation that as the input was moving through the core processing realms, I did have an experience where it felt as if the threshold barrier itself was reverberating as a result of being influenced by the input itself. That was a very interesting part of this session. This session was there was a lot going on in it. I was experiencing a lot of different things. I was experiencing that. I was experiencing concepts and shape forms, ideas, and a lot of concepts. The target was the SR-71 reconnaissance plane. It was a spy plane that was in operation between the years 1964 and 1998. So it was operational in the Cold War for spying on the Russians and all these types of things. Famous for being the fastest plane, also the highest altitude at the fastest speeds and all that kind of stuff. So, and also that it was claimed that even at those heights and speeds, it could take reconnaissance photos as close as reading a license plate on a car and that kind of thing. So that just gives you an idea of what this target meant. And that's what I was experiencing too. Was what this target represented, what it meant to civilization, what it was as a reflection of who we are as human beings. That we would put all this effort and energy into creating a machine to spy on other human beings, and what that means to us, what that means to civilization, and all that. I was going through all of that stuff during this session. And that's why one of the main reasons why I even do this activity is that I want to explore my own conceptual nature, my own points of view of concepts of humanity and civilization, and also nature and the nature of reality. So anyway, that's what this session was about, and I hope you find it interesting, and many more to come. The threshold. The barrier's input. There's an input. I have an input. I have an input selected. I have an input selected. It may have already flashed through. Residue of the threshold. Threshold, mental construct. Threshold. Is it a mental construct? See, the threshold and the barrier, they feel like they are more than a mental construct. There's some other. There's another characteristic. There are other characteristics to the threshold and the barriers. There are other characteristics to them. The emotional construct, mental construct, and something else. But I have a point, time, and space here. I have an input selected. So what do I want? I want to illuminate not only the processes, the emotional processes, mental processes, input stimulated. I want to input stimulate the barrier, threshold. I want to illuminate the barrier, threshold. That's what I want. The input, the point, time, and space is an illuminating factor. So I want to access the actual inputs. It's the input that illuminates the barrier and the barrier threshold. All right. It's the input that does 5819. So winding or turning round. All right. I mean, I'm kidding. First impression is like some kind of round thing. That's my first impression. And what is it? It's a shape form. It's a shape form based on the processing words of winding and turning and around. Winding, turning, and around. 5819. Okay, 5819. Curved. Inside green, blue, moist, humid, wets. Input stimulus 5819. 5819. Across, down, damp, moving, pointed. All right, I just got another shape form of something, that kind of pointed shape form. Five, 8, 1, 9. And I got a random thought here of a prison. Random thought. Is that too low? That was a random thought. 5819. Looping. This is an idea word of carrying. That is an idea. Smooth. This is another idea word, multiple, or more than one. Silver. Metallic. Edged. It's kind of an idea word, but it kind of feels random. Gripping. Or holding. Another idea word. gripping or holding. Looping. I am getting this kind of feeling of people. It's more like a faint notion of people. Like a faint notion of them. You know, voices. Voices and movement. You know, moving. Voices moving. This is an idea more than like people around something. You know. That kind of thing. People who are around something. A notion of that. You know, people are around something. This is another idea word of pinpoint. Over here, pinpoint. Pinpoint. But what does that mean? Location. Direct. Pinpoint. Exact. Exact. You know, those types of things. Something exact. Pinpoint. Exact pinpoint. Yeah, I got a pretty strong feeling of this pointed shape here. I mean, this is giving me comparators. Memory comparators like a shuttle, a space shuttle or something like that, rocket. You know, because of the shape. But I feel very strongly about the shape, about this pointed thing. I'm getting comparators of things like a pointed building, a rocket, that kind of thing. Comparators. See, the threshold feels fluid right now. Feels fluid, like this is an interesting sensation. I'm paying attention to the threshold barrier and it feels like it is reverberating. Hopefully this is correct, or hope. Let me be clear on what I'm saying here. I feel like the barrier, like the threshold barrier, is resonating. Like it's kind of, that's the sensation that I'm experiencing. If that is the case, it may be is from the stimulus reverberating through it. 5819. Again, talking. You know, people talking. Discussing. You know, feels kind of serious to me. A serious feel to it. But people talking, they're around there, they're talking. You know, there's another word. These are idea words coming in here. Negotiating. Tactical. That kind of thing. But here's another interesting experience, because I'm getting these comparators, but I'm also getting emotion. I'm getting doubt about it, and that this target is like a carnival. You know, what am I explaining here? This is an internal process. An internal process where I'm doubting these ideas. I'm hitting a belief barrier. That's what I'm experiencing right now, is my own belief barrier. All right, I want to get beyond that. I want to get beyond that. I want to get beyond my own belief barrier. I'm glad I'm catching this on video. 5819, 5819. Soft. The idea of lapping, you know, like a soft wave, or like low waves, you know, that kind of thing, lapping. Yeah, like that. 5819, 5819, 5819. No. I'm creating those. 5819. Green, yellow, smooth. I'm getting a word here, bath. Bath, the word that popped in. Bath. You know, let me explore that. It could be private or public, like a bathhouse in, you know, Rome or something like that. I want to explore that word, where that came from. If we're looking at like a Roman bathhouse, this was a social, also health related. They were social, for social gathering, also for health. Inside. An intricate design. The way those were built. Again, I'm in a comparator right now of a Roman bathhouse. They were designed, constructed. Their purpose was for public health, also a gathering place where people would talk and discuss and that type of thing as well. Beyond the comparators, whether it is a bathhouse or not, what is the idea of that? Is a gathering place where people are gathering? Yeah, a pool. This is where again I'm getting hit by my belief barrier. Yeah, I'm glad I'm catching this on film. This is a belief barrier. 5819, smooth, wet, watery. Down. I'm getting this idea word of decline. Decline, or dilapidated, decline, decline. What does that mean? Decline. Something that is on the downward. Something that is on the downward. Something that's on the decline. The decline or going down. Going down. Going down is an idea. I'm in the idea generation realm. Going down means many things. It could be physically, moving down, I guess, as a gravitational thing. It could also, there's also something in decline. This is bringing me back to the comparator of the room and bathhouse, of something that is aged, wearing, and in decline. Aged, wear and tear, that kind of thing, in decline, or in decline, decline, or going down. Going down, not at the same position it was before. A lower position. That's the idea. I'm exploring the idea of decline. I'm in the idea generation realm. That's what was triggered or stimulated right now. A lower position. I'm in a lot of concepts right now. I'm getting a lot of concepts. Lower position. What do I mean by that? I want to explore this a little bit more. A lower position. If it's conceptual or it's physical. Physical, it would be in a lower, or as opposed to a higher position, up or down, up, down, that kind of thing. First floor, bottom, basement floor, that kind of notion, in a physical realm. A lower position is also hierarchical. It could be a demotion, a lower point on the hierarchy, not the king, below that, or the president, or whatever, or the CEO, and a lower scale. Could also be, again, in the decline, something that has aged, something that is past its prime. An old ideology, past its prime. That notion, past its prime. It's no longer at its peak. No longer at its peak. That notion. I mean, it gives me, this is an AI, it's something serious. It has a serious feel to it. It has a serious feel to it, almost like a longing, like a longing. Like a longing for something in the past, a longing for prior to the decline kind of a thing. Serious. Well, hang on a second. Now, how did I get from serious to that? Okay, the serious feeling is an AI. Because this whole thing has me feeling like this has me feeling like I'm contemplating. You know, like this point in time and space is something that has me going through an experience of contemplation. I'm contemplating actions and effects and decisions, you know. Actions, decisions, making the right ones, and that kind of thing. There's something involved with this point in time and space, you know, that has to do with that, or, you know, it has to do with the seriousness of it, of making a decision. I'm getting memory comparisons from this. I'm getting memory comparisons of like the atomic bomb. You know, that kind of thing. Do we do that? What are the consequences of it? How does it change the world? Our view of humanity as a result of that choice. That kind of thing, you know. It gives me the idea that this is like a round table of leaders or something like that. You know, they are discussing it or whatever. You know. But this point in time and space, for my emotional sensation, it's bringing up within me the sensation of contemplation, of contemplating, thinking about, thinking, yeah, weighing out choices and decisions, you know, that kind of thing. And what am I doing now? But I'm exploring the aesthetic. I'm exploring the aesthetic. You know, like, and this goes to the Roman bathhouse thing, but it's like civilization. That kind of thing, you know. That somehow this target is, the target represents civilization, or an aspect of it. You know, way of life, or way of life, that kind of thing. You know, like I'm getting the comparators are like government leaders, you know, or like this one, like the rocket going to the moon, or that kind of thing. Things that change civilization, change the way what was possible, change the way people saw what was possible. And it's going back to like Rome, or the Roman ideology as well. You know, it centers around this. It centers around this notion here. You know, it centers around this notion of what are we possible of, what is possible, what, let me get clear on that now. What are we capable of? What are we capable of? It feels that big, as opposed to a target that's, you know, some barn out in the middle of a field. This one is making me feel, or it's triggering feelings in me of that this point in time and space is very important. It's a very important decision. And it represents, or this point in time and space, is some kind of a reflection of civilization. That's the idea. It reflects on civilization. That's the idea. In my mind, I feel like I'm going through time with all of these important events that alter the course of history. That kind of thing. This point in time and space, this target that was selected is like that.